Give this man more blank checks for his original ideas because this film feels like an event that has layers and layers of backstory and meaning behind them. Sinners is about a set of twins in Smoke and Stack, as the brothers are trying to leave behind their troubled lives in Chicago and restart in their hometown in Mississippi, only to discover that an even greater evil is awaiting to welcome them back. The two brothers open a jukebox bar and start a new life, and it's here in the first act of the film that we get a lot of the backstory for the twins, but also for the community that they are from, and what made them the grizzled men that they have become. The hard-hearted nature of war or the loss of a child. The heartbreak of losing family or knowing that you're doing the right thing at the expense of being called a villain or the bad guy. These characters are gray. On opening night, they're visited by some vampires, and that is when shit hits the proverbial fan. At first, the cast is slowly turned from Mary to Cornbread to Stack, with his death given a particularly long period of time to stand with us. We aren't sure if he's going to bleed out or die or come back fully. After all the world building, a face-off is set, and we have had the time to really get invested in all these characters. And just watching this mob bum rush them, maybe that's the only shortcoming that the movie has. I love the battle between the brothers and how Sammy is able to stun Remick with his guitar long enough to survive. A heroic sacrifice of Smoke is wonderful, and the final scene of Sammy rejecting his father and embracing music while also jumping to the 1990s is just a chef's kiss of an ending that was beautiful. There are multiple subgenres at play here, from gothic South vampire horror to music exploitation, the duality of personhood, and what it means to be black in a country that still looks at you sideways. And I'm not even talking about the vampires yet. This film feels like an event. The first big music scene is just awe-inspiring. Ryan Coogler is clearly drawing inspiration from several ideas and combining them to create a beautiful piece of work. There's an idea or concept that while there may be 100 languages, music is a universal understanding. No matter your culture, you understand rhythm and dance. There's also an interesting question brought up of when is it culture and when does it become cultural appropriation, once a hive mind begins to kick in. Vampires are typically a metaphor for hunger and sexuality, and while this movie is definitely not lacking on either front, everyone is thirsty in this movie, and I mean that in every way. I also saw a discourse online about how this film tries to buck the narrative of conventional beauty, and I'm all for that. There's also a debate of leaving your home versus fleeing the South in a time when Black America was still under Jim Crow era laws. People were free, but weren't free. Multiple times it's brought up that the Klan is still active in the area. That's at this point I want to talk about the actors. Michael B. Jordan plays a set of twins perfectly, and there's enough to them to where they have something in common, but very subtle things that make them differ. Smoke is a more level-headed of the two brothers, who are still technically married, but they're both in pain because of the loss of their little girl a long time ago. While Stack is volatile, and you see it in his relationship with Mary and the way he conducts himself. There's a deep-seated anger in there. Michael Canton is the newest player, but his role as the preacher's boy, or aka Sammy the guitar player, is important as a young innocent man whose gift others can only dream of. He has the power of real music that can harken to the past and call to the future. It's not something like an actual superpower, but the concept or the idea of music as a universal language is something beautiful and impressive that Ryan Coogler is able to pull this off masterfully. He doesn't just give us music, he shows us what it means to have it be a calling to the past and to the future. I also want to give special mention to Jack O'Connell, aka Remick. He's the first vampire that we see, and he quickly builds his hive mind. As the movie goes on, we learn that while the body dies, the soul stays trapped in the body, but in a corrupted way to do the bidding of the original vampire. Mind control is an old rule of vampire lore, but it's used in a very unique way here. While midway through the movie we get that great musical sequence that is used to meld multiple genres of music together in a way that feels like it's celebrating culture. Whereas, when Remick does his Irish jig and has everyone dancing around him in unison, it's horrifying how coordinated it is, but also, it feels like he's forcing his music onto them rather than enjoying all forms of music. That's where the debate of cultural celebration versus appropriation begins to kick in. When Sammy plays, we all see it. When Remick plays, we see him. I also appreciate how this film takes the time to really build all these characters. It puts in the work to make us care, but when the big battle in the barn happens, Some call it justified mayhem, I call it an unfortunate waste. Maybe I'm the only one that feels this way, but I feel like this movie had lost the final crew in a slower fashion so that their deaths could be more focused on or left to breathe with the gravity that they deserve. While there are also obvious horror elements that could have been played as the vampires get the power and maybe set fire to the barn. I'm not trying to tell Ryan Coogler what to do, he's an amazing director, but it does feel like there are some ideas that could have been explored more. I know it would have made this film 3 hours long, but honestly, I would have taken a 3 hour Sinners film. This movie is a feast for the eyes, the ears, and the soul. A transcendent film that deserves to be remembered with the best of them. To me, a 9 out of 10 and an almost perfect movie. But what did you think of Sinners? Let us know down below, we'd greatly appreciate it. Also, did you see it in IMAX the way it should be watched? Let us know, and yeah, we'll catch y'all next time. We'll see everybody.